E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live. With your host, Donna and I, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Ginwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. Jim, we're ending our week on We Love Our Dogs.
Yes, ma'am, we are. And I'll tell you right now, this has been a wonderful week. We've shared a lot of stories about the heart of a dog. And you've heard me say many times what a wonderful world this world would be if everyone had the heart of a dog.
Absolutely.
We could take a lesson from them four-legged friends of ours, you know.
We could.
And before we went live, Donna asked me if I was getting a little taller. And that's one of those backstage, inside jokes. But main thing is we have fun, and we hope that you're having fun, number one. Number two, we hope and pray that you are enjoying life. And when it comes to these dogs, my goodness gracious, do they set the standard for some of us to follow?
They do. And, we've got some more stories we're going to talk about today about our incredibly heroic dogs.
Amazing.
And we're going to do what our national day is. But before we even get started, Jim, I want to just let everybody out there know, if you hear my studio is a little loud, as you know, our studios are in our home. Mm-hmm. I am getting a new roof put on. Mm-hmm. So if you hear some banging and clamoring, I just wanted to let you know off the top, they're on the roof and they're finishing it up today. So that's where we're at.
Mm-hmm. She just wanted everybody to know she's getting a new roof. That's what it was.
No, it can get loud.
Yeah, I know. I was just kidding you. And that roof's been up there a long time. And those guys out there in Phoenix working on that roof.
Oh, God.
Oh, you got to tip your hat to them, because that is a very, very, very hot job. Just,
yes.
For those of us that's been on a roof in the summertime, we know how much hotter it is up there than it is down on the ground. And there's no shade.
Right. And
there's no shade.
It's going to hit 111, I think, today. So it's, but June is notoriously goes from 80s, low 90s, higher 90s, boom, hundreds.
Yeah, they don't even have to put in any kind of a special request. It just comes automatic there to the Phoenix there in the greater Phoenix area. And Donna, today, on today's national holiday, this is Friday, June the 10th. And one of the things that, I don't know why someone made this, but they call it National Ballpoint Pen Day. How many people still use ballpoint pens? I mean, I do for one.
I do.
And they've been around for a long, long time. And, I used to give them away when I owned my business with my name on it, my business name and all. But ballpoint pens, my goodness. Which ink do you like best, black or blue?
Depends.
It depends.
No, it does. It depends on what I'm writing.
I thought you were saying depends. Depends on what's in the pen.
No, it just depends on what I'm writing. If some things I want black, some things I want blue.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and today is something that I love, and that is National Egg Roll Day. Oh, goodness.
Yes.
Donna, do you have a recipe for egg rolls?
No, I don't.
Oh, shoot. We can't come over to your house for egg rolls after the show?
I'm sorry.
Well, we'll buy some and come over. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah, that'll work.
Today is also National Iced Tea Day.
Yes,
I love iced tea. And I'm still old-fashioned, and I set mine out back.
Sun tea.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we used to make a lot of sun tea when I lived in Arizona, and it works beautiful. You just put it out there, and it just makes a great tasting tea.
It
And
does.
I grew up in what I call Sugarville. I mean, where I grew up in North Carolina, putting sugar in coffee, putting sugar in tea. That
Sweet
was,
tea.
yeah, sweet tea. I mean, that was just the standard.
Yep.
And I didn't know you could drink tea without sugar in it. And then all of that changed when I went in the service because sometimes we didn't have, because this is 1968 and 1969. We were in Vietnam. There were a lot of times we didn't have sugar and salt and things like that. So,
A nicety.
yeah, I remember when I was in Germany, I was on Forger 1 in January, in February 1969. It was miserably cold over there in Grafenwehr with snow on the ground, us sleeping in tents. And we walked over where they were setting up the mess tent. And I asked the mess sergeant, I said, you by chance got any coffee? Yeah, man, I got some. Come on over here. I'm getting everything together. So, okay. He had the coffee and he didn't have any sugar. And I says, don't you have any sugar? And he turned around. He was kind of frustrated. He says, do I look like I'm running a restaurant here?
Nice.
And I said, I
Nice.
understand. But that's where I started learning how to drink coffee black. And I'm
I
glad I did.
I love black coffee.
Oh, yeah.
To me, it's the best.
Oh, yeah. And I learned to get away from sweet tea. And I don't have anything against it, but, sugar is, for those folks that study up on their health, you can make your own decision on that. But I just like the taste of something that's non-sugary. I really
Mm.
do. And tea, iced tea, oh my goodness gracious, and black coffee. And that just goes hand in hand. It really does.
It
And today is
absolutely.
also National Herbs and Spices Day. Hmm. It's amazing how all these national days come up, and I still giggle when Emerson told me, he says, "You know how Mother's Day got started?" And I says, "Well, I guess we were picked today to honor our mothers." And he says, "No, it was the card company who started that to sell more cards."
Right. Right.
So this is also National Messages of Inspirational.
Nice.
Oh, I couldn't even finish it. I started laughing.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah. Aren't you glad it's Friday, Donna? Aren't
Right.
you glad it's Friday?
It's also going to be National Kitty Joins Me on the Screen Day.
Yeah, yeah. Donna, there you go. There you go. We love our animals, and cats have staff, and we love our animals. We understand that, and our dogs. My goodness gracious, Donna, I want to share a story with you about a dog. Oh goodness. There's so many great stories of how these dogs are just great heroes. And
Right.
this one here really touched my heart. And it's a story about a young pit bull. And he was just hours away from being euthanized. And get my tongue going here. And this woman had pity on him and decided to save him. And just hours before the dog was being put to sleep. And less than a week later, this dog, now realize there's not been any time for training this dog, but this little pit bull that she saved returned to favor when he helped her 4-year-old son. And she named the dog Tater Tot. And just like I said, hours before he was supposed to be put down, she brought him home. Her 4-year-old son loved him. And the dog that night started barking and running back and forth between the woman and her son. That was his way of saying, come here, there's a problem with your son. And she thought he was just being, had hyper energy for not being properly exercised for the day initially. But the pit bull refused to give up. He knew that little boy was in trouble. And so she went to check on her son. He was barely breathing. And Tater Tot was on the bed. He was barking and pawing at him and licking his face. And she was able to get the little boy, the medical help that he needed. So it's just amazing because, in a week's time, she did not have time to train that dog. Didn't even think
No.
about training that dog about something like that. But that dog had a natural built-in instinct. Hey,
Hmm.
these people rescued me. This is now my pack family. That little boy in there, me and him are little buddies. and he's got a problem, and I'm going to let mom know about it. Hey, we got a
Right.
problem here. And so that's an amazing story where she saved one life and ended up saving two.
Right.
And Donna, that leads me right into a beautiful story. One of the nonprofits that we enjoy promoting is the sheltertosoldier.org. Oh, I love that story. Would you share it with the folks?
I would love to, Jim. So, Shelter to Soldier came about in California,
Hmm.
but it was about helping veterans who have PTSD and getting them a service dog.
Hmm.
So, what they do is they actually go into the shelters and adopt, usually it's the bigger dogs who are going to be euthanized. We're talking pretty large dogs, like 80, 90 pounds up. And they bring them in and they train them. And what they do when the veteran reaches out to them and puts in their application, they come in, they have the information on the veteran, and they bring them in, and they have however many dogs, probably, between 3 and 5, I would think,
Hmm.
where they go in to meet the vet, and they choose each other,
Yes.
right? They choose each other. And since the inception of this program, and it's zero cost to all the vets, but since the inception to this program, not one vet, not one, has been lost to suicide under this program. So
That's
our
another
hats off to them.
Mhm. That's another clear case where they saved a life, and the dog in returns helped save the veteran's life, because
Right?
PTSD is it's a very real thing, as we all know, but it's also, you know, I can't say I suffer from PTSD. I know I had some, as my wife would say, when I came back from Vietnam, I had some hang-ups, but I'll tell you right now, I do understand what a lonely world that a soldier can exist in the canyons of their mind.
Right.
And that
Right.
dog just bridges that gap with unconditional love. Mm, that's
Hmm.
something we can all take a lesson from, to have unconditional love for our family.
Well, Jim, we both have had dogs, and I know your dogs have done some incredible things.
Hmm.
When
Oh,
you
yeah.
had your, what was it? You had some surgery in your
Yeah, my
tummy.
hernia,
Yeah.
hernia surgery, my
Hmm.
repair, yeah, on the left side, yeah. And he just came up to me and sniffed the side of my face and went down, sniffing my body, like he was sucking all the dust off my shirt or whatever, just that you could feel he's kind of like a vacuum nose, and really spent a lot of time there in that area
Hmm.
where I had received the procedure. Went down my leg, down to my knee, and a little bit further down, and came back up the same way again, sniffing out exactly where I'd been operated on. Came back up my side, sniffing and all that, checking the rest of my body. Got up to the side of my face, licked the side of my face, laid down beside me, and went to sleep like everything's okay. I'm here with you.
Hmm. Well,
Man,
it's amazing. You
yeah.
know,
And
my
Donna,
puppy.
there's a lesson in that, Donna. Excuse me for interrupting, but there's a lesson in that for us. How important it is for us to let someone know if they're in a hospital room or something like that, or they're at home. Just go over there, sit down, be quiet, and just say, "Hey, everything's going to be okay. I'm here with you."
Right.
Just by actions, not words. Ooh,
Right.
that's huge, isn't it?
It is huge. It is huge. When I was before I found out I was diagnosed with MS, and I'm one of the very few percentile who can have seizures from it.
Hmm.
And when I would get ready to have a seizure, Jake would, my puppy, would always come up and, get right up on me, put his head up by me, or his big old Pyrenees paw, and let me know that he's there. And it got to the first couple times, I'm like, I didn't feel it coming on yet, and he already knew it was there. So after about the third time, I'm like, oh, okay, he's sensing it's coming on. And he would sit quietly and wait with me till it was over. But I'll tell you, it's funny because Jim, after that, that dog became uber protective of me.
Hmm.
Uber protective of me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that we really cherish about our dogs is because they give us unconditional love.
Yep.
And that's something money can't buy. And I think we all should, take a lesson from that to give unconditional love to our family and to our friends.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's why we talk about at the end of the show about you got to love yourself first before you can love anybody else because you
Right.
can't give something that you do not possess.
And it's funny because my dog hates power tools, like especially air compressors. It freaks
Oh.
him out. When
Hmm.
he was younger, the only thing that really bothered him were horses because they were so dang big, and hot air balloons. That kind of freaked him out. But as
Hmm.
he's gotten older, he's 12 now,
Hmm.
and things bother him a lot more. So knowing that we were doing remodel work and knowing that we were going to be having the roof put on, I went down to the feed and tack store that I get the animal supplies at, and I got him CBD oil, and so I put that on his food in the morning because part of me, and being a pet mom, but my unconditional love toward my dog is to give him something natural that's good for his joints, etc. But it
Hmm.
also helps slow his roll a little bit so he's not quite so upset over the roof,
Hmm. Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Hmm.
So it goes
Absolutely.
both ways.
It really does. And, Donna, there's also this story here about Brutus, who was a golden retriever. And Brutus was a 7-year-old golden retriever, and he is credited with valiantly saving a young child from a venomous coral snake.
7-year-old.
Yeah, 7-year-old dog. And with a coral snake, they cannot hit you like a rattlesnake or anything like that. Their mouths are too small. But where they can bite you at is in between the webbing of your thumb and finger. They got it because they got a small mouth. But when they latch on, they chew.
Right.
And everybody knows the coral snake has got the worst. I think it's the most potent snake here in the
It is
United
the
States.
most poisonous snakes in North America.
It really is, and that because it has the neurotoxins in it. The neurotoxins affect the central nervous system, which shuts down your heart, your lungs, that sort of
Right.
thing. Whereas the hemotoxin that destroys tissue, flesh. And anyway, the little dog, the little golden retriever Brutus, grabbed the snake as it was crawling towards this toddler. He knew that was dangerous. He carried the snake away from him, and he received a bite from the snake. It's kind of amazing, but the snake did bite the dog, and it was nearly a fate, almost a deadly bite that the
Right.
snake, but he recovered. He made a full recovery because venomous coral snakes are known for being the most poisonous snakes in North America, as Donna says. It would have been fatal to a little
Oh
child.
my gosh, yes. And
Fatal. I mean, it's even bad news for an adult.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely, let alone a little baby. So
yeah.
everyone knows that I have a lot of cats, and
Mhm.
this next story just honestly warms every part of my heart sideways. This is
Mhm.
about Ginny, and she's a little schnauzer. So she had a huge soft spot for felines. So um, she got off to a really rough start in life, and she was rescued on the verge of death and adopted by a depressed man by the name of Philip Gonzalez. He soon realized how special this dog actually was. It turns out Ginny was on a very special mission. Throughout the years, she had saved cats of all sorts from all sorts of dangerous situations, such famous escapades that made some headlines, including throwing herself down a pipe to save 5 kittens and saving a kitten through broken glass, which resulted in her sustaining injury to her paws. During the course of her life, she saved roughly 900 cats from all
Mm.
over the place, be it in alleys, shelters, building, dumpsters, you name it. Her
Mm.
life goal was always to be out in the world offering aid to whoever needed it.
And that was reported on the NBC News, wasn't it?
Hmm. And it's funny because, we see pictures on the internet and stuff of cats and dogs loving each other. And my cat, Niner, she's a Russian blue. And we fondly dub her 2-ton Tessie because she's a big cow. I know. I'm sorry. Sorry, Jim.
I'm glad she don't have any nicknames for me
That you know of.
that I know of.
But anyway, she loves my Great Pyrenees. And it is her dog. She will go up and groom him and, on his mouth or his ears. And he's kind of particular. I mean, he'll let me mess with his ears, but it's not his favorite thing. And he'll kind of look at her and pull his head away. And then she'll just like, okay. So she'll curl up with him.
Mm.
And it's the funniest thing. She absolutely adores that dog.
Mm. Yeah. It's just amazing how they bond like that. And one of the things I forgot to mention about, the dog we were talking about earlier, not Ginny, but Brutus, the golden retriever that saved that little boy from the coral snake. He actually was flown to Los Angeles and received the National Hero Dog Award.
Yes.
So that was really amazing. I forgot to mention that, and I apologize. But this next story, Shayna, German Shepherd and a wolf mix. What a combination, huh?
Oh, that would be amazing.
Oh, yeah. There was an elderly couple. Their name is Eve and Norman Fertig. They were taking care of animals on their sanctuary grounds when a freak snowstorm suddenly trapped them. They were over 200 foot away from their home in freezing temperatures. And luckily for them, Shayna was there to save the day. With some determination, she dragged the couple through 200 feet of snow, and in order to get them back to where they could be warm and safe. She even stayed around after the long crawl to keep the couple warm and safe before the fireman rescue team could arrive. Of course, she received widespread praise for her heroic deeds and was subsequently awarded the Citizens for Humane Animal Treatment's Hero Award, an award that's actually reserved for humans.
Is that not beautiful or what?
Oh my goodness gracious, because normally I've heard people say, if you breed like a German Shepherd with a wolf, it's a hybrid, of course, like any other breed like that would be. But, the wolf in them is a little bit too wild. But in this case here, wolves and dogs, which are descendants of the wolves and coyotes and things of this nature, or that particular breed, they're still pack animals.
Mm-hmm.
And they still will protect the pack, especially the weaker members. And that's something that I'm sure that dog wasn't trained to do.
No, it's just instinct.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
it really
instinct.
is.
And when we think about that, I mean, honestly, they're laying their life on the line for each and every person. And it is, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's such a lesson to be learned here in what we need to do and be better stewards of each other.
Amen.
Right? Better stewards of each other, because what this world needs more of always is love.
Mm-hmm.
So this next story, this is a doozy. This is Belle the Beagle. 911. What's your emergency? Kevin Weaver was suffering from diabetes during this time, and he had trained beagle named Belle to assist him with many things, like detecting his blood sugar level at all times. One day, he suddenly suffered from an intense seizure, and he collapsed. In an awe-inspiring moment, our canine hero quickly grabbed the nearest phone and bit down the numbers 911. I know, I have tears in my eyes. I'm not even. Due to her heroic actions, her owner was eventually rescued. After her heroics, Belle had since been awarded the Vita Wireless Sam-
Samaritan.
Thank you, Samaritan Award, which is given to someone who has used a cellular device to save a life, prevent a crime, or help in an emergency. Of course, it goes without saying that she is a first canine recipient of this award. This is what the gentleman said, Weaver said, who owned her. There is no doubt in my mind that I'd be dead if I didn't have Belle.
Wow.
Is that not amazing?
It really is. Now, how would a dog know to dial 911 or be able to get the phone and say, "Hey, this is a lifeline that my dad needs," and to be able to bite down the digits 911. Oh my
Right?
goodness
And
gracious!
the only thing I'm wondering is if he had somehow taught her to
I
do that.
I don't I don't know. He may have, but
Right.
I mean, teaching a dog to do something, or I mean, how many times you have to call 911 or something, and just say this is a test. I'm training my dog. They probably send somebody over right away. Make sure you're not,
Well, yeah,
mentally.
and after a couple times, if you do a false call on 911, they start
Yeah,
charging you.
yeah, yeah. So we don't really know, but the fact of it is that dog saved her owner. And it's just an amazing, amazing thing. It just, like you, Don, it almost brings tears in my eyes too.
Oh,
And, this dog, Roselle, is a Labrador Retriever. My goodness gracious. This came out of the magazine called Bark, Bark, Bark Magazine. And there were many heroes that stepped up during 911 tragedy. We covered a little bit that yesterday about how this um, blind dog led her owner down 1,463 steps through all of the chaos. Now, chances are that dog rode the elevator up and down to the 87th floor there in the in Tower One. But this dog here, amongst them was a very special Labrador Retriever named Roselle. She stepped up to the plate too during 911. She was trained up as a guard dog for the blind. And in fact, this is the story I shared yesterday about Michael Henson, but it's so good I want to share it again today. This is where, before the towers collapsed, she went and she grabbed him and she says she knew we had to get out of here. And she led her owner and 30 other people out of the building itself. And the other story where we got the source from did not mention about the 30 other people. But my goodness gracious, that's 31 people this dog saved and
right.
got them down those 1,463 steps. And of course, her efforts did not go unnoticed. She received widespread praise, several awards for her heroism, including Dickin Award, DICKIN Award, and posthumously awarded the American Hero Dog for the year 2011. She was her she inspired her actions inspired, I should say, for Henson to write the book of their 9/11 experience titled Thunder Dog: The True Story of a Blind Man, His Guard Dog, and the Triumph of Trust at Ground Zero.
Well, and she
Um,
got him home too. That was the
yeah.
other thing. And then she took him home, got him on the train, I think back to, yeah, the train to his
Mhm.
house, and
Yeah.
acted as if nothing happened. And when they got home, she was trying to cheer him up by trying to play with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Gosh darn.
Like, this, so what? Her attitude was, so what? I got you out of danger. Now let's be happy.
Right.
And what does that tell us about our everyday life when we
Right. That
when
we
we
just
overcome obstacles and pain and suffering, and a lot of times we dwell on it, don't we, Donna?
we do. We dwell on it and we go into a funk, where we can go into a bit of, you know, oh my gosh, why me? Why me? What's going
Oh
on?
yeah.
And it just brings us down. And we need to be, you know, it's hard to go through difficult things, but I look at it like when we go through some difficult things, it means we're alive.
Yes.
And it means
Yes.
that we were there to witness something, not always a good thing, that we were there to witness it and be a part of it and grow through it.
Hmm. Yeah. And it really amazes me how, we dwell on stuff, but Dog says, hey, it's kind of like a bird flying through the air.
Right.
Someone shoots a bullet at it or shoots an arrow at it and it missed the bird goes on flying. The bird doesn't stop, turn around in midair and say, hey,
No.
what's wrong with you? We would as humans, okay?
Oh yeah.
Humans would, but birds, and they don't even think about it anymore.
Right. They're like, huh, didn't get me. See
Yeah.
ya.
Yeah. So what? And you think about how much less stress that would have in your life. And Donna, I know that from your personal experience, how you turned, your personal experience into an avenue for people to communicate with you about how to deal with things. You're a TV producer and host here. Your website is donnaguinois.com. And people can get in touch with you at highenergyrightnow@gmail.com. You see there on the marquee. But I love the way Donna explains this, that when you're going through something and something's gnawing at you like a rat on cheese, you can pretty much narrow it down to one of three things or a combination of the three. It's either a person, a place, or a thing.
Absolutely.
And what Donna does, and I'm going to let her share a little bit more about it, is that by asking you questions, she finds out where you're coming from, because where you are right now is the perfect place for you, but it's not where you're going to stay. Some people choose to live there, but that's not life.
Right. That's
You
not
got to,
living.
yeah,
That's
you got to,
existing.
yeah, exactly. I'm going to let you pick up from there if you'd like, please.
That's existing. So I got in my own personal life, I got done existing. It was
Hmm.
just that simple. I got done existing.
Hmm.
And through my year long trials and tribulation in my own journey, through, being diagnosed with MS, I already had arthritis. Then I got diagnosed with MS and I underwent 3 brain surgeries in 14 months for an aneurysm in right behind my right eye.
Mm.
And then that left me where I was having trouble finishing. I couldn't think of words for sentences. And it wasn't just like once in a while, it was every sentence for
Mm.
almost 2 years. And it drove me
Wow.
crazy. And
Hmm.
it put me in a really bad place. I was really in a dark, dark, uncomfortable place. So through my journey is where I discovered high energy performance coaching. And for me, high energy, it doesn't mean I'm hyper,
Hmm.
right? We cannot exist, at least I can't, in that hyper stage all the time, right? We don't have that kind of energy. But high energy means you're getting rid of the negative crap that's blocking you from going forward. And sometimes, folks, we're just too dang close to the forest to see the tree. So
Hmm.
having somebody come in and help you, and that's what I do. So I go in and I help people through a series. It's a pretty lengthy course, but it has to be to get to the bottom and the root cause of what is causing you to stay stagnant. Because
Mm.
love and hate can't exist in the same space.
Mm.
So if we're upset about something and we know that we're upset and things aren't changing, it's that negativity is hate.
Yes.
And right, and we can't move forward. So
Mm-mm.
finding that, uncovering it, and getting rid of it so you can identify it and live in a higher energy space, which
Hmm.
just means you're happier, you're more aware, you have more joy, you're
Hmm.
more present with yourself, and therefore you're more present with your family.
Amen. I like the way you finished that. More present with your family. And Donna, we've covered a lot of these stories here, and some of them have been repeated, but that's okay. But there's a dog by the name of Clobberhead who's a greyhound. And if you ever had someone repay your kindness and kind deeds toward them, well, I'm here to tell you that us humans, we're not capable of repaying the kindness sometimes towards others, and we should. But 2 months after Clobberhead was adopted by the Kramer family, he literally prevented a potential deadly disaster using his sharp senses. With his ever efficient nose, he knew that there was something very, very wrong going on in the house. Now, the family was asleep, and he was able to, he displayed some weird behaviors in order to grab his owner's attention, but behaviors such as avoiding a certain room or refusing to go out of the house. Finally, someone took heed of this strange behavior, and Clobberhead led the way, guiding her to some shocking discoveries. Aaron Kramer, the mother. And what they found was gas leakage under the hot water heater that was actually giving out sparks. And, it's just amazing that these hazards combined could have destroyed not only her house, but it would have killed their family and also destroyed the neighbors' houses as well. And
Absolutely.
thanks to Clobberhead's smart thinking, several hours were saved from a catastrophic, get my tongue going,
Catastrophic.
yeah, catastrophic event from happening. And imagine how devastating that would have been if it hadn't been for this one dog that was adopted. And on a previous show, I talked about a good friend of mine that I served with, Maurice Worth, in the reserves. And one morning, he saw the sheriff's car coming down his driveway, and he was thinking, "What's going on?" And so Mo, as we call Maurice, he walked outside to meet the sheriff, and he knew the deputy, and he said, "We got some bad news." He said, "What's going on?" He says, "There's been an explosion. The mobile home that his mother and aunt were in had a gas leak."
Mm.
And they didn't have any kind of a dog or anything like that, but the whole thing exploded, killing them.
Oh.
And it was devastating to Mo because not only did he lose his mom, he lost his aunt, two ladies that were very, very important to him
Mhm.
while he was growing up, helped shape his life, and now both of them have been violently ripped out of his life. And gas leaks are something that a lot of times they go undetected,
Mhm.
especially if the family is asleep. And that's spooky when it comes to gas leaks. It really is because,
Absolutely.
and for dogs that, if your dog's asleep, they have that ability to wake up and say, there's something wrong in the
Right.
house. Like it's an evil presence in the house. And
Right.
I've seen videos of dogs that, bulk up and they the hair gets up on their neck, the back of their withers, and they start growling. And people, what are you looking at? What are you seeing in the house there? And
Right.
then later on, they find out that there's something else in the house, specifically that particular room, that they cannot explain. But there's a presence in there, and that's what the dog senses.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you're not supposed to be here. You don't
Right.
belong in my pack.
Right.
And I think you've seen some of the same videos as well. That's heard stories
Ab-
like that.
Absolutely. So this next story,
Okay.
oh, Jim, it just touches my heart, something fierce. So
Mhm.
this is about Killian, who is a Labrador Retriever, and I'm just going to read the whole story because I don't want to chop it and do it in any injustice.
Okay.
As a parent, I'm pretty sure that any parent will search high and low for a responsible, reliable, and loving babysitter to take care of their baby. Both Benjamin and Jordan Hope thought they had found the perfect babysitter in Alexis Can when they checked her profile and past experiences. In fact, they were so confident in her abilities that they even hired her for future babysitting sessions for the next 5 months. Little did they know that Killian was aware of the true horrors behind Khan. In truth, Khan was an abusive babysitter who would constantly scold the baby and
Mm.
slap the baby around, sometimes risking injury. In order to alert his owners of this tragedy, he began to display aggressive behavior whenever Khan came around for the job, sticking close to the baby. He even tried to attack her on one occasion, and the parents had to separate Killian from the babysitter.
Mm.
Luckily, they began to grow some suspicions regarding Killian's behavior and subsequently hid an iPhone underneath the sofa. The, the recording only confirmed what they had already dreaded. Due to Killian's actions, Alexis Kahn was arrested, sentenced, and had her name registered on the child abuser registry. Killian saved a baby's life and had inadvertently prevented any future children from being hurt by her in the process.
Mm. That's really amazing, Donna, because not only did that dog stop that abuse, but it also prevented any further traumatic drama for the young child.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. And that was reported, ladies and gentlemen, on MSNBC.
You
And
know,
so, yeah,
we
go ahead.
watch a lot of those shows, my husband and I,
Hmm.
the true life stories,
Hmm.
and it always just blows us away.
Hmm.
And it's funny because, my husband is a very calm man. He's not, things don't rattle him easily. And he always says, I have so much security, um, knowing that our first line of defense is that big white dog right there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, Jim and I have talked about this before. A lot of people, and I know a lot of people will disagree and some will agree. Some people think that when a dog walks in the house before you, that you are not the pack leader. My dog always goes in the house before me, but I assure
Yes.
you, I am the pack leader. He knows
Oh, yeah.
that the
Yeah.
hierarchy starts right here.
Hmm.
But for me and for Jim, we both believe that it is their nature,
Hmm.
in our dogs at least, that they go in first to see what's ahead of the owner
Yeah.
for protection.
Yeah. Their job is as a pack leader or member of the pack is to protect the pack leader, to keep the pack strong. Even
Right.
scientists have showed when cattle are coming into the barn, the first cattle are, I forget what group they are, but they're not the prime stock. The
Right.
prime stock is in the middle, and then the weaker calves or weaker cattle is in the back. Because if a predator chases after, like a coyote chases after the cattle or something like that, you can have one of the weaker members, but the herd is going to survive. That's that pack mentality. And like when you go outside, your dog wants to go out first. That's the way they're wired. Do not stop that or anything. And
Right.
one of the things too, we're getting ready to wind up Friday this week on dogs, but I gotta say something too about dogs. Dogs have a sense of humor.
Yes, they
I
do.
remember, and when I say that, the one thing pops in my mind. This guy, he was on. He had a. He lived next to a lake, and he's out there, and he's on the little pier of it by his lake and all that. And he's bent over and he's doing something, and his dog is looking at him running around. The dog runs up there and takes his nose, bumps him in the butt, knocks him in the pool, and water and takes off. And the dog is just running around happy, happy, happy. Look what I did. Because they do have a sense of humor. They really do.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
absolutely. And the thing for me, even with my cats, people, there's a lot of people that don't like dogs. There's a lot of people who don't like cats. Oh, they don't
Hmm.
have a personality or they're this or that. I
Oh.
totally disagree.
Hmm.
It is usually human error
Hmm.
that we are not paying attention to
Oh.
the animals to find their personality.
Hmm.
I have four cats, three of them are blood sisters, and they're all completely different.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Now,
That's
if
how
somebody,
unique.
yeah, now we have one, Glock, she's the one who's usually the black one, usually up on my lap during the show. She will not surface if anybody else is in the house other than my husband and I.
Hmm. You
She
won't see
is,
her.
nope,
Hmm.
she will hide the entire time. The other
Hmm.
three, now, Bullet, well, Bullet will, he'll come out and say hi to everybody. And he's like, hey, I'm Bullet. And then pretty
Hmm.
soon, Niner will come out and pretty soon Mag will come out. But Glock, you will never see her.
Hmm. I remember I picked up a little kitty one time from an animal shelter. This was back around 2002, something like that. And there was just something about her body language because she was just a little bitty tiny kitten. and she's sitting there like this. And there was just something about her body language that I like. She's jet black, kind of satin black, and had these amber kind of eyes, yellow, almost yellow eyes. And I'm
So
looking
she's
at her.
a Bombay as well.
That's when I found out later she was a Bombay. And
Mhm.
you can look up a Bombay kitty, and I'm telling you,
I got two of them.
they describe them as being like a black panther. And that is so true because they're kind of like guard kitties. And I remember we go out in the woods and we called her Tigger. And Tigger would race past us, which they love to do. And she'd run up a tree. She'd sit there and look at us like an owl, waiting for us to come by. And after we passed, she'd go down the tree and then pass us up again, up another tree. And like, here I am. And that just goes to show you how, when I say animals have a sense of humor, yes, they do. They know how to entertain, they know how to be the center of attention. If they can sniff us and know when we're having health issues and things like that, you better believe they can also believe or know what giggles us, what flips on our giggle button.
Absolutely. When we lived in Timberlake in Ohio, um, we had this cat that a neighbor in Grove City had, and she was moving, couldn't take it with her.
Mhm.
So we took him in, and um, his given name was Half Stash because he had half a mustache. But we called him. I know, you're
I
welcome.
just visualized that.
He did. But we called him Manini. I don't know why. That's just, I've always nicknamed my animals, and his name was Manini. And that dang cat would always run with his tail straight up. I mean, a
Hmm.
dead run. But he
Mhm.
would play hide and seek. And people are like, there is no way in God's creation a cat can play hide and seek. And we had this neighbors, and they had some exchange students, and we were talking one day, and I said, yeah, I said, they said, is that cat yours? I said, yeah. I said, he's awesome. He kills
Mhm.
all the critters around here. And I said, he also likes to play hide and go seek. And she looked at me and she said, oh, that's silly.
Mhm.
And I
Oh
looked at her
yeah.
and I said, silly, huh? She said,
Mhm.
cats don't play hide and go seek. I said, oh, yes, they do. Well, it was summer and we were out, and I was on the other side of our property. And I looked at him and I said, all right, Manini, let's play hide and go seek. Hang on, get me to the count of 10. So I went running as fast as I could. I went flying around the other side of the house, flopped down on the ground, and here he comes running, and he would run like dead run, get right up to your face and stop and be like, I found you. Happened that that neighbor was out, and she
Oh
looked at
yeah.
me and she said, huh, I guess I've seen it all now. And I said, yeah,
Oh yeah.
some cats just are really, really special. He was a pretty cool
Yeah.
cat.
Yeah, and it's just not dogs that are very special to us. Cats are too, because when I would go on annual training, we had a Siamese cat. Her name was Peaches, and she walked to the beat of her own drum. They Siamese have a attitude, you might
Oh,
say.
yes, they do. I've had them my whole
And
life.
when I would leave, every single day that I was gone, she would get in front of the window. And Evelyn told me that she would sit there and stare down the cul-de-sac, because that's when we lived in Katy, at the end of a cul-de-sac. And she would sit there looking for me, waiting for me to come home. And then when I finally came home, then she was mad at me. Because in her mind, she probably thought I was out tomcatting around. I mean,
Right.
she'd smack at me around and growl at me. I'm going like, I don't take orders from you anymore. Yes, you do. I mean, that was her attitude, but they had so much personality. And I
Hmm.
think that is just a snapshot for us to see of how great the Creator really is
Oh,
in creating
absolutely.
His creation. My goodness. I mean, and I've known people who have had pet pigs, there for a while. The Vietnamese pigs were very popular back in the 70s, and animals, get different. I'll tell you what, we had a fish one time, Donna. It was an Oscar, and they're the big fish you see in the aquariums. They're not really a real pretty fish. I hate to say that, but they really aren't. But their personality, I mean, they're not like a goldfish or an angelfish. They just
Right.
look like a fish in the river or something.
Right.
but their personality is something else. And I remember James was playing with this fish. He was teasing it with the food, and he held the food up above the water. And the fish jumped up to grab the food out of his hand. It startled him. We laughed about that. Oh, goodness. But I mean, it just goes to show you that animals have a way of making our life complete because all
Mhm.
animals were created to, we were originally created to be dominion over everything, and we still are. But animals, in a way, they just, they know they're there to be a blessing in our life somehow or another. I don't know how to explain it better than that. You probably can in your
Well,
thoughts, Donna.
I think that I look at it like this. We are here with them to share our journey in life together.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's just a moment that you're in Yellowstone Park and you see wild animals that you wouldn't normally see. That's a
Wow.
moment we get to share with
Mm-hmm.
a wild animal. And I feel that way with our domestic animals.
Mm-hmm.
We had a Bombay. I brought him back to Arizona with me. His name was uh,
You're like
oh my
me. You have those
oh my
senior moments before your time.
yeah. I'm having senior moment. J Man. There we go.
Yeah.
It's what happens when you have so many cats. And he was a
Yeah.
big boy. He was a Bombay. He was about 25 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a big boy. And I would take Jake for a walk. And now Jake's pure white and go down the street. And then here's this big, huge black cat walking with us. And people would freak out on the block because they'd see a dog and a cat all happy together walking side by side.
Mhm.
And if he got behind me too far, I'd pull Jake up and say, "Hey, come on, J Man, you're too slow." And he'd
Mhm.
come with that big belly because he was neutered. His
Mhm.
big belly was swinging side to side as he's running, going, meow, meow. But you know what? I mean, he's not with us anymore, J Man, but I have pictures of him. And
Mm.
what an incredible blessing that this
Oh, yeah.
stray cat was in our life
Mhm.
for many, many
Absolutely.
years.
As we said yesterday on the show, imagine how if you have a special dog that you can get permission to go into if you want to call it a retirement home or old folks home or whatever, but that dog will automatically pick up on who needs love.
Oh, absolutely.
And think what a joy and blessing that would be to people because those folks out there in those homes, I've seen them. I know what that world is like. I've got a little bit of experience. And
Me
you
too.
see people just, older folks just getting wheeled out there in their wheelchairs or whatever.
In front of the
And they,
TV and
and
left.
they sit them there like planted pots, as I said
Yep.
yesterday. And if they don't need anything, they're not going to get anything.
Right.
No conversation, no nothing.
No
And a lot of them,
stimulation.
yeah, a lot of them just sit there and they just,
Hmm.
they just stare at the TV because there's nothing better to do. Because that animal, that dog, can reach a place in their memory and
Hmm.
jog the memory and bring back pure joy, pure love, and pure jubilee.
Hmm.
And it won't cost you anything. I
Nope.
mean, please do that. My goodness. And, check around because, if you make them a comfort dog or service dog or whatever you do to, put the little vest on them, whatever it takes. But most think about how happy that would make you feel too, knowing you bless someone else. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Spread the love.
And next week, ladies and gentlemen, we're starting our 2 week series of famous people. That's right. Donna will be here. I'll be here.
Oh, he is full of himself today, folks.
Had a lot of black coffee this morning.
Obviously.
No, we're going to be talking about some famous people and people who have, come from, very a meek, mild beginning, and people who saw a need and stepped up to the plate. We're going to be talking about a lot of different kind of people. So please tune in and share it with your friends. And most importantly, when it comes to our YouTube channel, please subscribe to it. Just go to Messages of Inspirational Stories TV show. You should be able to find it there on YouTube. and like and subscribe. But most importantly, if you see us any type of our shows in there that would resonate with you or with someone you know, please share that link with them. And if it's a show that you resonate with, please save the link so you can click on it from time to time. Just like we
Absolutely.
save links here, and this is one, the Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. I've mentioned that many, 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 many times. That's a great video for you to look at. And if you live in a country where YouTube's not available, you can Google The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. You can download it in a PDF form.
Right.
It is word for word what is spoken on the YouTube channel in Mr. Nightingale's voice. It will open your eyes. I promise you that.
It
Well,
will.
well Donna, it's almost time for let's go over to your house and have egg rolls, right? I got to go get them.
Well, okay, I'm not quite ready, but if you bring them, I guess so.
You'll get ready, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, she'll put the napkin around her neck. Have her.
Yeah, get ready to eat.
Yeah, that won't take long, would it?
No.
Oh, my goodness. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our time is gone, and we sincerely hope and pray that you've enjoyed this week's show on dogs. And please like and share with others. And if there's anything that Donna and I can do to help you, or if you got a question or comment, or want to share one of your stories about your beloved pet, please email us at E360TV there at inspiration at E360TV.com. And one of our staff will get that and get it to us, and we'll be glad to do that. And
Absolutely.
Donna, as we always like to say, love yourself first, then you can love others. And as Donna likes to say about what?
Give yourself grace.
Amen. Forgive yourself, because many times we're harder on ourselves than we are anybody else. And our subconscious mind picks up on that and thinks
Hmm.
that's the way the world should turn, and it isn't. You should love yourself and love others and forgive yourself. Then you can forgive others. That's so important.
It is.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us next week as we get into our 2 week theme on famous people. And yes, Donna and I will be here, but we're not famous. We just want you to be here to hear those wonderful stories. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye, folks. Have a great weekend.